Good morning. It's Saturday. Thank you for joining me for Saturday with Jay. I am excited to have you here. This is a topic that I thoroughly enjoy talking about. Because it's kind of like a mystery. For me, being the problem solver that I am, and someone who loves a little bit of everything. I like variety in my life. I have talked about, discussed, and tried to master balance in life so we're going to get into it. But come on in, come on in. First of all, let me make sure that I am streaming and that everything is okay. It is a fantastic, beautiful Saturday morning. Grab your tea, grab your coffee, grab a friend, and come on in. We're going to get started. All right. So today we're going to be talking about the art of creating balance. And I am Miss J. If you have not joined me before, thank you. I'm so happy to have you. Hey, come back and see me. I'm here on Saturdays live. So if you are up Saturday morning early bird, this is your kind of moment of inspiration. Get a quick tip. Saturdays are a fantastic day for me. My house is typically up and buzzing fairly early because I have kids who don't understand sleeping in. So they get up on their regular school day schedule, which means that I'm up. Some days I'm up because I have a 7:45 mastermind class or call. And so I'm up and ready to go. I've been up now for almost 2 hours. So hopefully, for over 2 hours, actually almost three. So hopefully you are joining me when you have some energy, and we're going to just go ahead and dive into it. So I have a few different things that I want to talk to you about, but of course I've talked to you about the topic. Now, balance. What does balance look like? What does balance mean? How does balance feel? All of those things, we're going to discuss it, and we're going to discuss some tips on how to do that. So because I coach women who are in career transition, there is a lot of times things that we need to put in order to make things work. And in order for your life to work, it is a circle full of all of your roles that you have to take care of. So you have to figure out how to do everything that you want to do in a manner that is going to be as successful for you. So I'll take my last sip of tea and then let's get into it. Balance is a state of equilibrium. It is a place where you have mental steadiness and emotional stability, as well as a habit of calm behavior. And I mentioned that because balance necessarily isn't necessarily a mystery. It is something that ebbs and flows like the tide. Some days you're going to be up in some areas, down in some areas, and then you just have to figure out how to find a place of equilibrium where you feel safe, sane, comfortable, and like you can keep going. So it isn't a state, one and done. I found balance and now I just need to stay here. And the reason why that is impossible is because every day is different. Life changes, circumstances change, your friends and family change, your work, etc. changes. Change is the state that we live in. You can't get around it. I mean, just the natural cycle of life is change. You go to sleep tonight on a Saturday night, you're going to wake up tomorrow. It's Sunday. That's change in a simple form. The hours change, the days change. Your life is going to change, not only on a daily basis, but also when it comes to the stages and your phases of life. And so finding balance isn't like I've mastered this art right now. If I can just keep everything as it is in this moment in time, I'll be fantastic and great. That is basically impossible. So we want to make sure that we are doing what we should be doing to maintain some equilibrium in life as life changes. So let us dive in a little bit deeper. I'm going to talk about balance when it comes to your personality type. I'm going to talk about balance when it comes to your life phases and also balance in your roles. Why balance is important. Number one, I want to start here because if you know what creating balance can do for you, you start to strive to make sure that you are more aware about the balance that you have in your life. So, these are the things that we want to avoid by being out of balance, out of whack, and living in that state for a extended period of time. We want to see if we can kind of keep these things that are happening in our life in somewhat of a state of harmony instead of getting out of balance and staying there. And when you stay out of balance for extremely long periods of time, it can feel normal to just operate in that mechanism, even though it isn't normal. So when you're living out of balance, or why creating balance is important, either way, two sides of the coin. You can have increased stress and stress related illnesses, which is the long term impact of living out of balance. Decreased life satisfaction. Now, when you think about life and what you want to accomplish, what you want to do, what brings you joy, when you are not obtaining those things, potentially because of obligation, potentially because of what your circumstances require, then you have you have lower life satisfaction, and being dissatisfied with your life over extended periods of time leads to other mental illnesses besides stress. It can be dealing with depression or other side effects of that. So we want to make sure that we try to find the place of harmony. Another side effect of living out of balance is increase in family strife, which could also lead to increase in violence, which can also lead to divorce. Now, it doesn't also, that isn't a chain of a chain effect. It is, these are some things that could happen because when you are out of balance, your relationships are out of balance, which means those long-term relationships that you have had some commitment to also start feeling the effect of where you are on a mental, spiritual space. And if that unbalance is affecting your health, then they're also carrying that burden with you. So you have to be mindful of the fact that you are affecting the cipher of people that are around you, and all of those things have ripple effects through your entire life. It has ripple effects not only in family life but also in your work life, and the relationships that you're trying to maintain. One of the last things that I want to cover really quickly about um, living out of balance is that could also lead to increase of substance abuse. And sometimes we use those as coping mechanisms or things that's just to kind of take off the edge. So a glass of wine might turn into a bottle of wine, which might turn into something that's harder, or whatever the case may be, whatever the substance of choice may be. At some point in time, if you're going to be using it consistently, it's going to lose its effectiveness, and therefore you're going to have to either increase dosage or go to something that is has a higher impact on your mood, your physicality, etc. But those are bandages. Those aren't. That isn't something that's going to heal and correct the issue at hand. Healing and correcting the issue at hand comes from within and the work that you have to do to create balance in your life. All right. So let's talk about balance when it comes to personality types. Many of you have heard the terms introvert, extrovert, and some fairly new terms, ambivert or omnivert. So when you hear those things, you think about that as in the type of person they are when they're in public. So an extrovert is going to be out there, they're going to be talking to people, social butterfly, etc. They're all around the place. They just love to be with folks and on the scene. The introvert is quite the opposite. And I'm talking to you from the standard understanding of this. Introverts are quite the opposite. They aren't necessarily people um, pleasers. They like small groups, not people pleasers, but they're not seeking out big crowds. They like small groups. They like alone time. They may not be talking as abundantly or as gregariously as some of the others in the group. These folks are typically, those are some characteristics that people typically ascribe to introverts. And then there's the ambivert or omnivert. And those are folks that will kind of alter or shift based on the circumstances that they are. So the reason why I wanted to talk about it from this perspective is because from the MBTI stance, the Myers-Briggs type indicator, which where those words are frequently used, uh, we also look at those as where you get your energy from. Where do you recharge, reboot, and give yourself what you need to keep going? And so, from the extrovert point of view, an extrovert gets their energy from people and from being, seeing, doing, interacting, and engaging. So, that is why the extrovert is all over the place, because it's like a live wire. Like, this is their junk. They're in their space when folks are around. And so they might not necessarily feel their best when they have been alone or haven't been able to socialize. They might not like being by themselves. They might have roommates just so that they can have someone else around them, or live cohabitating with people because they need the energy of another person in order to help them feel quote unquote normal. The introvert, on the other hand, is someone who retreats inwardly in order to recharge and reboot. And so the introvert likes quiet time. The introvert likes to be alone. They will stay home, stay in bed, read, go to a park by themselves. Now, it's not saying that they are antisocial, right? An introvert is not necessarily antisocial. However, they are okay and feel better when they have an opportunity just to internally retreat or retreat from the massive crowds. It feels, for an introvert, it feels that when they are in those large crowds, they have to use a lot of energy naturally in order to stay engaged. And so whenever they can unplug and disengage, that's when they get recharged and refueled. So it's not necessarily about how you engage with folks, which is a part of the picture, but the other part of the picture is where you're getting your energy from. That's why your extroverted friend loves to be out. And if you are friends with an extrovert, then and you are an introvert, you're like, they're like, come on, let's go. And you're like, I rather want to just stay in and have a chill night in. Now, the ambivert or omnivert is someone who is situational. They can become an extrovert or introvert based on the situation. And now I have tested as a middle EI extrovert introvert for many years. Many times when I've done this, the MBTI assessment, I come in basically in the middle of introvert extrovert. Now that is an adaptation to where I used to be, because I was very much an introvert and had made a mental decision and a life decision, that I would need to be extroverted and be more talkative and be present and engage with folks in a different manner if I wanted to pursue my passion. And that involved people. So even though I am a dominant introvert, I can extrovert, quote unquote, easily. But at the end of the day, after all the people are gone, After the event is over, after I have finished my training and I've talked to 75 people, I go recharge alone. And being married to someone who also is a dominant introvert that extroverts fairly easily, he understands that me finding balance in those major group things is that we'll both show up, we'll engage, and yeah, 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 rah, rah, rah. However, on the backside of that, when we get home, it's quiet time. And it means that I need my space and that he needs his space. So we have several little cubbies and hideouts and places for individual alone time in our home, because we both recharge when we can get alone and get quiet. Or sometimes it's being alone together, if that makes sense. Being together, being quiet, no need to talk. Let's just be together and just recharge and reboot. So you have to understand that balancing those types of things in your life also matters, because if you don't understand when you get your energy or where you get your energy from, you might go around trying feeling a little bit out of whack and not knowing what is wrong. And so if you are consistently introverting because your job is a job where you can't engage, you don't talk to people, you don't have a whole big social life, maybe because you relocated, you don't have friends or a social network. And so if you are living in a space that is not your natural way to recharge, whether it be introvert or extrovert, then you're still going to be out of whack until you find a place to plug in. And so you will want to find, extroverts want to find social networks, um, people that they can meet up with, even if it's outside during coronavirus time or, at the park. They aren't necessarily people watchers, they are people engagers. Now, an introvert can be alone and watch folks in the park and be perfectly happy with that. But you have to understand where your energy source is and how to tap into that so that you can make sure you're taking care of your natural state. That will help you balance the emotion, balance the energy, and stay focused in that mental steadiness part. So, giving too much away, whether it be, like I said, if introverts giving too much is going to be physically draining, they're going to feel completely out of whack. Extroverts being alone and not having a way to connect with others is going to be a draining for them. And so this is why some people can work from home immaculately, like they can get be alone and just be so productive, pound it out, get everything they need to get done. And that's also another reason why some people need to go to the office. And even during the pandemic, there were people who wanted to go to work and be in the building with other folks because that is where their energy source is. Feeling the energy and interacting with other people is what gets them going. So, understanding that is going to be key so that you can communicate to the others that are in your life, hey, I need to be with you, or I need to be alone, in order to maintain that balance. Now, let's talk about life phases. And the longer you live, the more of them you will go through, as well as the more you're going to have to figure out the way to rebalance yourself. So, let me just go back and say really quickly, balance is not going to look the same for everyone, because we are all carrying different titles, roles, and different things throughout our life. So my balance does not look like your balance, and it never will. So no one can tell me that I spend too much alone time, or I'm not out enough, or I got too much going on, because what works for you isn't going to necessarily work for me. Even twins, triplets, or multiples don't operate the same. And so you can't be ascribed to a specific, this is how life works. Your life wheel should look like my life wheel, and therefore you'll be perfectly in balance. Absolutely not. It's not going to look the same. So, back to the topic that I was going to broach, life phases. So balance for me when I was in college was school and play. That's all. As long as I went to class and I did everything that I needed to do, did the assignments, did the work. But then when it was work was done, as long as I had an opportunity to play, that was it. And I had to balance my play again with alone time and friend time. So I spent many Saturdays on the couch watching real world road rules marathons, watching college football, because my cousin was playing college football. And that's when I was like, oh, yay. I spent many Saturdays in my space recharging because I'd been in class, working on projects, etc. Now, when I got married, that became different because not only, of course, was I working, but I had someone I was sharing a space with. So I had work, then I had relationship, and then I had Janelle time, which sometimes consisted of me being alone or me being with family and friends. Again, I married someone who understands my personality type. So when I was in another room watching TV, cuddled up in a blanket, it wasn't an offense to him because he understood, okay, I need some downtime. And then later on, I'll be ready to engage with you. Married with no kids and married with one kid is completely different because one child doesn't leave you alone. And then married with multiple kids looks completely different. So now you have to be mommy to one or two or however many kids. And then you have to make space for your husband. And then you have a job, and then there's household chores, and then there's you, and then there's any family friend commitments that you have that are external to your four-wall household. And so you have to figure out that equilibrium. Life changes every time you add something to your plate or someone to your plate. Then you're going to have to figure out how to shift things around so that you can maintain a space where you still feel like you have the equilibrium necessary. And that means sometimes you're going to spend a whole lot of time being mommy and a little bit of time on the family and friends, or you're going to spend a whole lot of me time and not a lot of we time, or your work is going to be calling for a lot of your energy and engagement, time and investment, which means that you have to spend less time on those other external obligations. And so, because the time requirements and the energy and effort requirements change, you also have to understand that you can't be working 70 hours and then spending, you know, the rest of that time active and engaged in family relationships with your spouse, etc. Like when work calls for 70, then you have 30% left that you need to figure out where your priorities are. And if that priority is my marriage is going to get 15, my friends are going to get 5, me, I'm going to get 10. Then you have to figure that out for that period of time, because when the work requirement comes down from 70, then you can start adding on other things. And that constant assessment of where what is being required of me is going to have to continue so that you can understand which way do I flow and how do I keep myself together as life changes. All right. Now, let's talk about roles, the hats that we wear, the things that we do, etc. All right. So, as you add things to your plate, you're going to have to figure out how to balance it. And that again is just judgment, self awareness, and also emotional intelligence. And let's go ahead and go there first. Judgment, saying yes or saying no are two different things. And I know there's a whole lot of talk about you just got to learn how to say no, girl. You just got to say no sometimes. That's true, because everything can't fit into your jar that you call life. But there's some things that you have to say yes to. And I encourage you to say yes to the things that bring you joy, that make you happy and that serve your future purposes. Now, the self-awareness part is just that conscious knowing of your feelings, your motives, your desires, what you want. And that's when you're saying yes or saying no. It's going to take some self-awareness, but also having the emotional intelligence to be empathetic with those that are connected with you. And so if you are piling tons of stuff on your plate every day, or every week, there's something new, there's a new project, there's a new opportunity, there's a vacation, there's a girls trip, there's a game night, whatever the case may be. Once you start piling all of that stuff on, then you have to understand that some stuff is going to be squeezed out. And so you have to figure that out. But let's talk about roles. So I just wrote down a few because I was able to, when I was thinking about the show and thinking about life, using myself in this example instead of putting other my clients' business in the street, I wanted to just share with you a few things. And I think that these will be mirrored properly. I'm not sure, but I'll tell you. Basically, I wrote down a couple of cards. And these are things that I have to balance. You see how many? There's a lot. I don't know if I can even, it's bigger than a spades hand. But let's go through these. In no particular order of importance or priority. So we'll start here. Oh, I'm a mom, which means that I have two little boys who require love, hugs, cuddle, food, supplies, homework assistance, etc. I have to be, I'm not going to give that up. I have two favorite titles. They both begin with M. That's Mom and Mrs. And my babe gave me both of those. So out of all of this stuff, there's some things that just are not going to fall off of my plate because it is my priority. Let's go here. Director of HR. My full-time job, 40 plus hours a week, goes to helping a multinational company, and there are employees that call me, need me, ask me questions. I supervise folks, and so I am a point of contact for a lot of folks in that role as well. The Illumin Group. The Illumin Group is my business. It is my entrepreneurial endeavor in which I do coaching, consulting, and HR services, consulting for HR services, and also training. I do speaking engagements, all of those things. That is something that I added to my plate that came out of passion and mission, basically. So again, having to balance that, and all that comes with owning a business. This is GWU, that's George Washington University. I am on the board, the advisory board for one of their continuing education programs that requires me to do some things, as they stated in upfront, what I should do for them in order to be on the advisory board, meetings, networking, feedback, etc. I added that, and that's a commitment that I made. Wife, all day, every day. And a wife is not just a wife. Is for me is being a friend, a confidant, a lover, all of those things as time requires, and understanding again how my choices impact my husband, how his choices impact me, and how we need to balance all of the things that I put on my plate with the things that he puts on his plate, so that our kids don't fall through the cracks, and so that our house stays functioning in a way that is comfortable for everyone. Gal pal, sometimes that one gets like 5%, but fortunately, my friends are booked and busy as well, and they understand that life is a balance. So I have friends that I speak to very frequently. I have friends that I speak to every couple of months. I have friends I haven't spoken to in a year, but when I get with them, it's like a moment never passed because they have my undivided attention. And so that, of course, ebbs and flows as well. Queening effortlessly is I am a co-host of a Sunday night basically talk show where me and my partner, we discuss various topics that are affecting women. There's a lot of stuff that comes along with that: show preparation, guest preparation, planning of topics, etc., and then the time actually needed to host and facilitate the show. CXE is the customer service experience. I am currently in a program in which I need to do courses online. Fortunately, it's self-paced, so I can do it when I need to do it. Saturdays with Jay. You see that? That's what we're doing right now. So Saturday mornings, I'm coming to spend my time with you on this page to talk about things that, again, I love and that I'm passionate about. So this is something that gives me energy, helps me stay grounded, but it's just something that I love. So Saturdays with Jay is an opportunity for me to connect in my ambivert way. I'm sitting here by myself, talking about something that I love, sharing it with people, what I also have a passion for. Cornell. I'm in a Cornell program that'll end in June. So I have classes as well. So these two require self-paced work, require assignments, require engagement on various levels, etc. I also sit on the board of Lake Norman HR. Excuse me how that looks, but Lake Norman HR, I'm the president-elect for this organization, which means that I have a lot of meetings with the president and other board members to make sure that that nonprofit kind of professional organization is running smoothly. And then the Hue Leadership Alliance, which is my nonprofit endeavor. And so standing that up, getting that functioning has been a labor of love over the course of multiple, it's been a work in progress for a while, but it finally was born 2020, and we're working in 2021. So these roles, all hats that I wear every single day. Some of them are, again, I have to balance. I have to figure out, I have to pick and choose what gets my priority for that day. And I have to also take into consideration the other things that are happening in life. And so some days things are heavier than some of these roles, way more than the others. And in order to make sure that at the end of the day, I'm in a place where I still feel at peace, whole, and sane, I have to make choices on what gets my attention, what gets my energy, and what gets my effort. And you have to do the same as well. So I challenge you right now, wherever you are, whatever time you're watching, go get a Post-it notepad, go get something, and write down all of the hats that you wear. Put them in front of you so that you can see them. And then not only do I want you to tell me, well, not necessarily me, if you are my client, this is something that we do as an activity, but I want you to think about how you are balancing these things. And if you are doing a good job keeping that balance working, or if you need help, and it's okay to ask for help. We talked a little bit about saying no and saying yes. If you have all of these things, now sometimes people put hats on us. We don't put these hats on ourselves. People put hats on us, and we have to understand whether that hat is serving us. We're going to keep it in the yes pile. If that hat is not serving us, we're going to put it in the no pile. It's going to be a start. I want you to do a start, stop, continue. So this is after you put all of your things on your Post-it notes and see how far they go. Then you're going to take your post-it notes. You're going to make a little label. One says start, one says stop, one says continue. Now, the things that are on your post-it notes are probably going to be the things that you're going to be putting into your stop, into your continue. If it's serving you, continue it. If you can balance it, continue it. If it's not serving you, it's overwhelming you, it's draining you, it is not doing, when you started it, it's not giving you the anticipated return that you expected when you started it, I'm going to put it in the stockpile. When it's another hat that someone put on you that you don't have a passion for, you don't have time for, put it in the stockpile. And then once you take your, do that audit, I want you to say, these are the things that I'm going to continue. These are the things that I'm going to stop. And then what is missing? What is missing? And I need to create me a start list. So you have to say yes to the things that are going to bring you joy and fulfillment. And whatever that may be. That may be something that is career-based. That may be something that's relationship-based. That may be something that's hobby-based. But once you have an opportunity to look at where you are giving your time, effort, and energy, and then to figure out, okay, these things I love, they give me what I need, not just obligatory roles, but also you need to make sure you're doing those things that help you stay personally balanced, whether that's spirituality, making sure that you're attending a Bible study, or, listening to podcasts because you need something that's going to challenge you mentally, joining a book club, whatever the case may be. If you are out of whack and you say, hey, something's missing, I haven't had time to give me something that I need, that's what you're going to put on your start pile. One of the things that I put on my start pile, one of the things that I put on my start pile is a self-care routine, because self-care isn't, if you looked at the teaser, I said, is self-care all about massages and manicures or pedicures or whatever the case may be? And no, self-care is in finding balance, right? Self-care is in doing things that bring you joy, happiness. Self-care is finding equilibrium. Self-care might be telling people no when they try to put a hat on your head that you don't want, but it's also about finding the things, like I said, that bring you joy. And that might be a massage, that might be a manicure or pedicure. I have spent a lot of time in my house over the course of the last year, as I'm sure you have. I have not worked a full week in my office, out of house office, since March 17, 2020. And so I spent a lot of time in this house homeschooling, which I didn't put that hat on. Well, sometimes I did, sometimes I didn't. Homeschooling, working, being an entrepreneur, hosting all of these shows, doing homework, etc. I needed some out of my house time. That was going to get me to a place where I felt a little better. Because even though I'm an introvert and I like to recharge, and this is my recharge space, if I'm not giving that energy to other folks in some capacity, it doesn't serve its purpose. And so I had to find out of the house things that I wanted to do safely and effectively, because COVID is real. But those things I had to say start. Some of the stuff I started because I knew it was going to be short term. I'll be finished with those classes in a couple of months. So it's not long-term things, but they give me what I need, which is continued education. I am a lifelong learner. And so I love to find new resources, tools, etc. I love knowledge. That's just who I am, because I also like to share knowledge. And so filling my bucket with other educational opportunities gives me the opportunity to also embed some of that into my my coaching, into my consulting, etc. So start, stop, continue is your work that you need to get done, so that you can figure out where you're off balance, and then do what you need to do to find your pie chart. Even if you write it on, draw yourself a circle and say, okay, I'm going to give this much of my time. I'm going to start this way because remember, things are going to change. I'm going to give this piece of pie to work. I'm going to give this piece of pie to a relationship. I'm going to give this piece of pie to social media, binge watching all of my favorite shows, etc. So that you can start to understand where you're going to find your balance. All right. So document your roles, start, stop, continue, pie chart it out. Try it and see if you start to feel a little better. And this isn't about routine. This isn't about organizing your life into compartments, because life is a beautiful masterpiece of abstract work. So it's going to change. However, you have to master the shift, the continuous shift, ebb and flow, so that you stay at peace and that you maintain some level of energy throughout. All right. So if you've watched this and you've watched it all the way through, thank you very much. I hope that this has been beneficial to you, because that is the whole goal, is to help and assist. I am available for you to reach out to, if you need someone to partner with you on managing the life things, especially when you're planning for huge transitions in life, whether that be relationship, career, geography moves, etc. Sometimes life gets out of whack and you just find yourself overwhelmed in a whole lot of things. That's when having an accountability partner or a coach can assist you. And so on this Facebook page, you are able to go up and book a consultation call for coaching. Just a quick question if you have it, or if you would love for me to come and talk to your group or opportunity for your group, organization, or training, you can also book a consultation on the top of this page under my services tab. All of those are free, because my goal is to talk to you to figure out if we make the best match. But I hope that this has been beneficial to you. Again, happy Saturday. It's gorgeous. Go get you some vitamin D, and I will be back with you in a week or so. So, again, all of my early birds, I greatly appreciate you. Take care. Have a fantastic weekend, and see if this week will make a difference for you in trying to achieve, create, maintain, sustain, whatever the case may be, balance in your life. All right. I'm out. Have a good night or good day.